are live. SB Talk Sports, Sean Webb, real takes over fake debates. It is Monday, Sean, and it does feel like a Monday. So I got me a little bit of Swift energy in here. So give me energy and motivated to go and use code RTOFD to get 20% off your order. Sean, how your Monday treating you?
Man, doing good, SB, man. Hoping we can stage a great show for everybody tonight.
Yes,
and if we can't, we're going to give it our best shot. But, you know, that's all we're trying to do.
Yeah. Now, obviously, with the Team USA news going on, but honestly, basketball's been kind of short. It's getting up close to football season. So I have to have an undisputed champion type mindset to get this episode going. So the best thing I had to do, my screen not black and white, but we want to welcome back Champ back to the show. One is a great TikTok football mass content creator. Check my boy out. Also been doing this thing on YouTube too at the Undisputed World Champ. Make sure you guys go subscribe to that. And also you got to see me that link. I'm going to drop it in the chat for you. But Champ, welcome back to the show, brother.
Hey, man, it's always great to be back, man. And I see you remember, hey, SB, you are one of my day ones because only you used to get on me all the time about those black and white videos. Like, bro, take that black and white screen off, bro.
Get it all the time. I had to get you all the time. But Sean, you already know Champ is back. Great to have Champ back.
Always great
very
to have
knowledgeable guy.
Yeah, always great to have him on. Ready to toss the football, man. We getting close. I can smell it. I can smell the training camp, man. So we definitely got to get into it.
And then look, it was so special to do it today and to make the move because college football is back. NCAA 25. Everybody's losing their mind. Travis Hunter already online playing. The video with him went viral because the offensive line collapsed on the game. He said, man, it's realistic. So everybody's wilding out right now. I don't know if you were too much of the game, Sean the Champ, but how do y'all feel that college football is back though? Virtually.
Go ahead, Champ.
Hey, look, this is the first time in 11 years we've seen this. And it couldn't have happened at a better time. And I hate to regurgitate the same information that I've said before. But this is the first time that this game has come out during the social media era. I mean, the prime social media era. Granted, it was back in 2014, but the presence on social media wasn't as great as it is now. Let's not get it twisted. So for it to come out 2 weeks before the season opener, the preseason opener of the NFL preseason, the Hall of Fame game, and you have less than 45 days before the kickoff in college football, this is epic. Don't be surprised if you see a spike in ratings this year in college football. Not to mention this is the first year of the 12-team playoffs this year. The first year. So you're going to see a lot of simulation on ESPN, on CBS, on FS1. You're going to see a lot of simulations seeing who's going to make it to the college football playoffs for the first time ever. Don't be surprised if you see a bunch of wild card teams on there like a SMU or Colorado, you know, guys like that. But you're going to see a lot of dream matches happen on that particular game, man. I mean, for you to live vicariously, I mean, even if your team's not that good, you can live vicariously through that game and make them good. So, Hey, man, look, and throwing no shade to their partner in the NFL, but that gives us something different than Madden, who's been giving us the same game every single year. It gives us something different that we have been craving. So I'm excited, man. Ratings are about to spike this year. It's going to be a great year, man. And quite frankly, man, college football, hey, man, thank you, EA Sports. Thank you, NCAA. Thanks for getting those players paid like they should have been in the first place. And quite frankly, I'm excited to see it, man. Can't wait to see some of the playthroughs before I get the game.
Oh, yeah. I told you I played a little bit earlier when I got it. It's smooth. It's nice. Child, what about you? I know you're not that much heavy in the gaming, but how do you feel about NCAA 25 being back?
Well, I'm just glad players are getting paid. And that's the big thing to me, you know, and excited, you know, obviously anytime, you know, you bring something back, you revive a franchise like this, there's going to be a lot of buzz around it. And certainly that is admirable. But main thing is guys are getting compensated for it. And that's, to me, the most important thing is that guys are getting compensated for it. So that's what I'm happiest about. Excuse me. And as long as my nose are good in the game, I'm cool.
I didn't even look at the nose rating, but I think their rating is pretty solid. We should do some videos us rebuilding the school. Not the nose. Y'all already got a good history. We got to go somewhere like NIU, Ball State, or we got to do Coastal Carolina or something and rebuild them together on the channel. But if Champ, I know you said you're going to get the game in a second. When you get the game, what school you going to try to rebuild? And make sure you guys comment down below what school y'all will rebuild to.
What school I'm going to try to rebuild. Now, as you know, I'm a hardcore Georgia Bulldog fan, but the school I want to see do something not only on that game, but in real life has to be SMU. SMU. They, it was done a disservice years ago, back in the 80s, even before I was even born, with the death penalty, and they was not allowed to play football. They haven't been back to a certain level since. They had a good season the past couple seasons, but I would love to be the person to take them over the top in that game. So the first team that I'm going to try to completely rebuild in order to try to bring them back to national prominence like it was during the Pony Express is SMU, Southern Methodist University, man. Hey, man, not to mention, man, Emmanuel Sanders, one of the great players from SMU, came from there as well. So I'm going to try to rebuild SMU, man. Let's do it, SMU.
Sean, if you had to pick a school for me to rebuild, I know you ain't gonna play the game, but if you had to pick a school to rebuild, who would you pick, Sean?
I can't pick Florida State.
No, you can't pick Florida. Y'all don't need to rebuild. Florida State good. I mean, we should
have been in the playoff last year. We were undefeated. We should have been in the playoff last year. I don't screw the playoff committee once again.
I agree.
But no, I guess if I had to pick a school, I don't know, maybe Georgia Southern. Maybe Georgia Southern. Yeah, maybe Georgia Southern
is a good one.
Maybe Georgia Southern. Yeah,
that's a good pick. I don't really know yet. I'm still stuck in between one. I'm really gonna pick out the jersey, so I'm just gonna be a homer and probably say like NIU. Do it like NIU, Northern Illinois, maybe. Just be a homer.
Nice.
Yeah. But let comment down below under the video. Let me know what college you guys plan on rebuilding if you get in the game, and comment if you like the game or not. But
just be real quick. One quick question: HBCUs are in the game, right?
I believe so. It should be, yes. Okay. College, like majority have been there, but they should be in there, yeah.
Okay.
But I can check. I can check again. I really didn't. It's a lot of colleges. I didn't run through every team yet, but I can double down and check.
No, you're fine. I'm just curious.
Yeah. But let's get off the virtual football field. Let's get onto the real football field, and let's go ahead and get into started early. RIP to the legend Baltimore Raven champion Jacoby Jones. Y'all always know the dance like this, all this, and you also know he can make an electric flying play on the field. Champ, you first. Did you hear about the news about Jacoby Jones, and what was your reaction to it? And you want to say anything about it?
You know what? This past weekend has been one of the most surreal weekends I've ever experienced. From certain things, which we won't get into, this is a sports show, from certain things that happened within the country to now Jacoby Jones, like a day after that, it's very, very surreal. And quite frankly, man, thoughts and prayers, man, because, I mean, it's amazing that a hero at that age can pass away at such an early age, man. You're just getting retired from football a couple of years back, and the second part of your life is just beginning. And for your life to be lost is very, very tragic, man. Like I said, this was one of the more interesting weekends, arguably ever, because for him to pass away this weekend, along with a lot of other stuff that's been going on, was, like I said, we won't get into. It's crazy. And hey, shout out to Baltimore, in that team, because without Jacoby Jones, they do not have another Super Bowl. Ray Lewis thanks his lucky stars for Jacoby Jones, because without him, they would not have another Super Bowl, and they would have not been able to send him out with a win. And, man, thoughts and prayers to that team, man. People are never going to know how good that he really, really was unless they go watch the tape, because we live in a social media world where accolades are the first thing that people want to look at as how great you were. When you really look at it, a lot of lot of great players who were great. They didn't necessarily all the time make the Pro Bowls or the All Pros or had MVPs. And he was one of those players. And so I hope that people do not forget him and forget how dominant and great that he was just because he didn't have all the accolades in order to speak of. So rest in peace to the Super Bowl champion and the great Jacoby Jones, man. Hey, shout out to the Baltimore Ravens. That team was a very, very magical team, especially that season. Ray Lewis getting hurt and coming out saying he's about to retire, and them being able to send him out on top, much like Elway was back in '98. So huge shout out to Jacoby Jones and his family, man. Rest in peace. My thoughts and prayers are with you and the family. And hey, we appreciate you for showcasing us your talent for all these years. We appreciate you. I mean, I don't think these football players or a lot of these athletes get the appreciation. People think that just because these guys make a lot of money, they don't deserve for us, the fans, to say that we appreciate them. But I will say it live on your show, SB. Thank you for showcasing us your talent and allowing us to share those moments with you. We appreciate it.
Hey, champ, that was sensational right there, champ. I like it. Sean, what was your reaction and thought about the pass to Jacoby Jones?
Just, a reminder, you just don't know, when your time is going to come, unfortunately. And I heard about the news late yesterday morning. I follow and friendly with a big time Ravens fan on Twitter, and she tweeted something kind of cryptic, and it was kind of like, she was kind of in shock. And not just a Ravens fan, she's also someone who works in the media as well. And so to see that was the news, everybody who's spoken about him has spoken very highly of him, how friendly a person he was. And obviously that tends to happen, when someone passes away, you tend to want to speak, well of them. And but I to go back to what Champ said earlier, I do remember that Super Bowl very vividly, because I remember there was a long break because the lights went out, obviously.
the cut out the light gate, the lights off gate.
Yeah, and I thought he could have been the Super Bowl MVP because he had two. He obviously had the kick return for a touchdown, but he also had caught a pass, 56-yarder for a touchdown as well in that game. He was, really big in helping them get great field position and offense get great field position in that game. Again, I think Desmond Howard won the MVP as a special teamer primarily, but Desmond Howard also had a big game on offense as well.
Yes,
Jacoby's game was very similar to that to me for them. So just rest in peace to him. Prayers for his family. He's 40 years old. Is not old. Obviously, and so it's just rest in peace, and you just pray for those that knew him, that they find some comfort during this time.
Yeah. For me personally, good prayers to his family, prayers to the Jones family. First off, very sensational player, and the same thing goes. Like I heard from both of y'all, I heard nothing but good things about Jacoby Jones. He was a good person, good player. I believe he had kids, father, so I just want to say prayers to the Jones family at this moment of time, and make sure y'all respect their privacy and get them time to heal, because there's a lot of time we move so fast in life, and life goes at us fast. Sometimes you got to give people time to heal and enjoy people present, because you never know how long somebody has to be here on this earth. But prayers to the Jones family. The next thing up, let's keep it on the football field. Saquon Barkley dismissed the criticism about the longevity of high usage players at his position. So in this era, the running back, which was one of the most important positions on the field, but has become like a little, like everybody turned against them now. They don't get paid as they should no more. So people came in at Saquon about the high usage of a player in his position and the money that they're getting paid. Is the running back position done, champ? Is it over with?
No, and we will be foolish to think so, because if you really, really want to be honest about it, you're going to need the running game in order to set up the passing game. You're going to need the passing game in order to set up the run. If you really look at, and I'm going to come close to the screen when I say this, if you really look at a lot of pass-heavy offenses, they didn't win Super Bowl. When you think about the run and shoot offense, did it win a Super Bowl? No, it did not. And as great as Warren Moon and the run and shoot offense was, they did not win a Super Bowl. When you think about the Air Coryell offense with the San Diego Chargers back in the 80s, the pass-heavy offense that they had, yes, they had Chuck Muncie, but they didn't run him like they were supposed to. Did they win a Super Bowl? No. When you think about Mike Martz and the end of the greatest show on turf, look at what Marshall Faulk did. When Marshall Faulk rushed for 100 yards, the St. Louis Rams was 27-0. Let me say that again. When Marshall Faulk rushed for 100 yards, the St. Louis Rams was 27-0. When he stopped running Marshall Faulk and started passing it and airing it out every single game, guess what? That was the end of the dynasty as we knew it. Now, I do truly believe that the single running back position is over at a certain point, to a certain extent, because we're seeing a lot of dual threat running backs at this point in time. Well, as far as, running back duos at this point. So we're still going to see the running backs, but we're going to see a lot more running back duos. And which is great because we saw that in the 80s and we saw that in the 60s and the 70s. So there ain't nothing new up under the sun. But the days of giving your running back 400 carries and expecting him to lead you to a Super Bowl like they did Emmitt Smith and Walter Payton, those days are over at this point in time. But I don't think we should discredit what they're doing. And guess what? Hey, if that is your primary weapon and that is what gets you to the Super Bowl, guess what? You have to pay them like they're going to get you to the Super Bowl. Because you just saw what Daniel Jones, God bless him, Daniel Jones just got that major contract. No Saquon this year. It's going to be interesting to see.
It's going to be real. It's going to be real tight. Because Saquon ain't behind you.
And you got to think about this. What was Josh Allen missing on that team before he got James Cook? From where? UGA. He was missing a running back. Remember, during one of those games in the season, Josh Allen didn't throw nothing but for 48 yards. James Cook rushed for over 250 yards during that game and essentially beat the team by himself. So you're going to need running backs. The thing is, it's leaning more towards like it did in the 80s and the 70s. It's more running back by committees. In the future, I don't think we're going to see a lot of running backs be standalone running backs like we did in the 2000s, like we did in the 90s. We're going to see a lot more running backs by committees. Now, they're going to be there a few standout running backs like the Josh Jacobs, like the Nick Chubbs, like the Derrick Henrys and guys like that. But we're getting ready to see a new age like we did. Like I said, everything comes back around. Yeah. We saw an era in the NBA where we didn't see a lot of good centers.
Yeah.
Now we're seeing eras where you have to have somebody in the middle. You're not going to cheat the game. You're not going to cheat the game. So we're just seeing a transition like we saw in the 70s and the 80s, where you're seeing a lot more two-back systems and you're doing a lot more with two pieces rather than you running one piece into the ground and now you have to replace them pretty soon. Hey,
a run-heavy team just almost made the Super Bowl in the Detroit Lions. They almost made it with two running backs.
With two running backs, Jahmyr Gibbs and David Montgomery. I don't think in the near future we're going to. And plus, like I said, the game is very, very physical. It's a lot more physical than it was back then. People want to discredit the NFL nowadays, but now you have guys that are 295 running 4.2s.
Yeah, that's
so that the backfield is collapsing a hell of a lot more faster than it was back in the day. So guess what? It's going to be a lot more. I don't think that the running back position is over, but you're going to see a lot more two-back systems than you do one-back systems. And I think that's great. Guess what? Use two backs. If you have two backs, then guess what? You don't have to worry about if this one goes down. Like I said, I believe that the Cleveland Browns should have brought back Kareem Hunt in just in case Nick Chubb's not able to come back at 100%. He's been at that franchise before. He's shared the backfield with Nick Chubb before as well. So, hey, it's a great idea to have yourself two backs rather than just having that one to rely so heavily on.
And I think with the two back there, like you said, because the one guy go out, because Montgomery's out, Gibbs did his thing. Even not to even bring up like a bad trauma to you, like the running game is very important because look what happened with the Atlanta Falcons in the Super Bowl. They just controlled the clock, run the ball. You'd have been hosting, you'd have been celebrating, but you trying to overthrow the ball and not valuing the player that's behind you for a reason that messed you up. But Sean, what is your mindset on Saquon Barkley, just mentioning the longevity of high uses of the running back? Is the running back position go? Is it over with?
So for me, SB, when I think about high usage, my benchmark has always been 3,000 carries for a career for a running back, NFL career. So 10 guys in NFL history have 3,000 or more carries. Emmitt Smith has the most. He's like 500 above Walter Payton. He has 4,400 carries over his career. That's insane. You're never going to see that again. And I'd be willing to do some research that after that 3,000 carry, where did Emmitt Smith numbers go for those next 1,400 carries, especially for those, Cowgirl fans that overrate Emmitt Smith as the greatest Cowboy running back of all time, which he is not. It is Tony Dorsett. Either way, so I look at 3,000 carries. That's kind of my benchmark. 3,000 carries divided by 10 is 300 carries. So if you want a guy to play 10 years, I don't want a running back carrying more than 300 times a season in the regular season. All right. So if you're looking at and again, I'm just throwing out just some off the cuff numbers. So that's roughly 17 to 18 carries a game. Now there are some games where if you're in that two back system, you're going to have more carries. You're going to have less carries. Just depends on obviously the elements, what the game plan is. Obviously, defensively, what are they showing you? So I think the dismissing the criticism about the longevity of the running back, I agree with it if you're a certain type of back. What I mean by that is if I'm the Lions, I don't want Jahmyr Gibbs carrying the ball 300 times, right? I want him probably having maybe 150, 200 carries and getting him touches in other ways because of how dynamic he is. The same way the Saints use Alvin Kamara. Bijan Robinson is going to be interesting because Bijan Robinson is one of those guys, when he touches the football, he can literally every time he touches the football, he can take it to the house. That's how dynamic and special he is. But again, if I'm the Falcons and I want him to have a long career, I want to make sure Algier gets those carries too, because Algier is no slouch. So it's obviously the division of carries. But again, for me, thinking about it, how do I make sure you have at least a 10-year career? 300 carries during the regular season, no more than 300. Playoffs, all bets are off. We got to do to win.
We got to do to win.
And I will also say, one thing that was very unique about your favorite running back, SB, but Daniel Thompson never played in the preseason. Why? Because he knew he was going to have a heavy workload during the regular season. And he did. So, that's the other piece of it to me is, listen, if you're saying, hey, we got 3 preseason games, if I got a star running back, if I got a guy like that, I don't want him carrying the ball in the preseason. We know you can run the football. We'll see you game 1. All right.
See you game 1. Yep. We'll see you game 1.
In your sweats and drink your Gatorade. We'll see you game 1. So I think when we talk about longevity, the two back system is important, but for me, it's the number of carries, that you're keeping a guy under during the regular season. Because again, 10 years, that's my thing. Can a guy play 10 years?
Yeah. For me, y'all, both of y'all know that my love for football came from the running back position. So me as a fan of the game, how I became a fan of football, I highly is disturbed with the disrespect that comes from the running back position. Because I watch LaDainian Thompson be a difference maker and win games on his own. Most talented, low-key might go running back. That's a different story for a different day. We have to argue about it. Besides him or Sweetness. But there's the good two goats. But I have seen teams win and lose games because they didn't value the run game as much as they should. As much as I love Justin Herbert. But I guarantee this shit going to look real different without Austin Eckler behind him. Now, we can hope that Jim Harbaugh, who's a run-heavy guy, help us out. But Austin Eckler made your job easy. Bijan Robinson is going to make Kirk Cousins' job easy. football is the most dangerous sport. Anybody who got a high usage is going to get hurt anything. People on the line, corners, linebackers, any. So you just using this excuse because y'all devalue the run game because it's not exciting. It's about what makes the team win. And that's why we seen a run-heavy team almost make the Super Bowl. Also, another team, well, was it the 49ers? Best player is they running back. Value the running back. As much as everybody love Patrick Mahomes as the GOAT, why is the running back name it's blanking?
Clyde Harris-Helaire.
Harris, no, the other one.
Pacheco.
Pacheco was a real reason why they won. Real good part of that. So value, all I'm saying is they should value the running back position, and they also should get paid. Football is the only sport that don't pay you off. They pay you off position. They don't pay you off your productivity unless you like it. Because there's no way Daniel Jones should have got paid more than Saquon Barkley. You can't look at me. You can't nobody look at me in the straight face and say Daniel Jones should have got paid more.
Yeah. And can I throw something else out there, SB, just real quick, just because I was just thinking about it as we were talking about it. I think two things that people don't consider anymore. Obviously, there are some teams that still use this position, but most teams don't. It's the elimination of the fullback, right? Yeah. So obviously, a lot of times if you watch, football, if you ran the football, most teams that ran the football ran out of the eye, with a split or the straight eye. When you take the fullback out, generally that takes, that offers a little more spacing, so to speak, or supposed to. But it also, again, encourages, more hits on your running back. Fullback used to be the guy that he was going to take that first guy on coming through the hole, right? That's what it was. Great as Walter Payton was, Matt Suhey in front of him was huge, right?
Facts.
As many yards as Emmitt Smith put up, he don't put up a lot of those yards without obviously the greatest offensive line we've probably ever seen put together, but also Daryl Johnston in front of him. So I think that factors in as well. And then the one thing I want to say, because I was looking at it as we were talking, the top 25 running backs in all-time carries, only 3 average 4.5 yards or more per carry.
It's only 3 ever did?
Only 3 that ever did.
Is it Walter?
No, not Walter.
Emmett?
Really?
Not Emmett, no. Emmett only has 4.2 yards per carry.
LT for sure, right?
No.
Wow.
No.
No.
What you think, champ? Who you think 3? It got to be Marshall Faulk. That's got to be Marshall Faulk. Got to be in there.
No.
Marshall.
No.
Oh wow!
I don't know who else to guess.
I don't know. Good job.
Adrian Peterson.
Adrian Peterson is 1.
Okay, that's one. We got one. Adrian Peterson is 1.
Eric Dickerson.
No.
Wow.
Eric Dickerson was 4.4.
He was close.
OJ,
no. No, not OJ, no.
I don't know, bro. Derrick Henry?
No, not Derrick Henry. No, not Derrick Henry.
Not even Orenthal made it. The late great one. Rest in peace.
Is that Ricky Waters?
Not Ricky Waters. No, Ricky Waters only has 4.1.
Ain't no way.
I got to. Okay, who the other two? Give us who the other two?
Barry Sanders, who averaged 5 yards a carry.
Oh my God! Why didn't say Barry?
And Jim Brown.
No, Jim Brown didn't have that. He's not in the top 25 in all-time carries. But Jim Brown did average over 5 yards a carry. Fred Taylor is the other one. He had 2,500 carries, over 2,500 carries. He averaged 4.6 yards per carry.
Wow.
Did they put Fred in the Hall of Fame yet?
No.
He should have been the first Jaguar to go in the Hall of Fame. Not Tony. I never played Baselli.
And that goes back to what I keep saying about accolades. Because although he doesn't have the accolades back in the buck, he has the yardage. He only made 1 Pro Bowl throughout his entire career, and you can blame that entirely on fan voting. Because the thing is, he was in such a small market that people didn't even notice it.
And he was cold.
He was.
And played with the best wide receiver duo of that era that nobody talks about, and Keenan McCardell and Jimmy Smith.
And that's what small market. And like I said, there was no social media back then. Yeah. And people don't even realize the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're not but 30 years old, starting in 2026. I was literally 9 years old when they were incepted. So in 1996, when they had their first 1995, I believe, when they had their first season, I was literally 9 years old. So them being in a small market like that, on top of the fan voting and not being voted, because remember they stopped. You old enough to remember, Sean? No disrespect, but you remember how they used to, the players and the coaches used to vote on who made the Pro Bowl, and when it turned to fan voting, I believe that's when it got out of hand. Yeah. Because when you have a combination like Keenan McCardell and Jimmy Smith, neither one are in the Hall of Fame, and Fred Taylor.
Come on now.
Not to mention, Mark Brunell was a beast himself. For you to lead that team to an AFC championship, and the team is nothing but 3 years old.
Come on now.
So I'll just tell you, I went to high school in Jacksonville. So that year that they came in, I was in high school, and Jimmy Smith, Keenan McCardell, everybody kind of knew Keenan McCardell because he had some, success before, but nobody really knew who Jimmy Smith was. And a lot of people forget the other receiver they had came from an offense you mentioned earlier that run and shoot was Ernest Givens, who played with Warren Moon in Houston. He was the other kind of star receiver. Their quarterback, who eventually became the quarterback, was not Mark Brunell, it was Steve Berline. When Mark Brunell took over and Steve Berline, because Steve Berline sucked, I'm not really sucked. He was not that good in Jacksonville, I'll just say that. When Brunell took over and they figured out they had this Jim and Jimmy Smith, that's when they took off. And then the next year, in their second year of existence, along with Carolina, both of them in the conference championship games in the playoffs, which, again, 2 expansion teams in their second year in the conference championship game, never thought you would see anything like that. So, yeah.
And the funniest thing about that, don't mean to cut you off, my bad, Sean.
No, you good.
The funniest thing about that is neither one of them was the star wide receiver when they first started. Yeah. It was Bad Moon Rising.
Yes, who I had the chance to meet during that time. And
it was Bad Moon Rising.
yeah. And they ended up getting rid of him because he literally apparently did not study the playbook. He was just kind of like, I'm just coming in to do me and blah, blah, blah. He ended up catching on with Green Bay and winning the Super Bowl with Green Bay after they got rid of him. So, yeah.
He definitely won the ball. But let us know in the comment section what y'all feel about the running back position. Is it gone? Please comment down below. Also, we got to go to another team in a different position. Higgins, we just talking about it now, did not sign his extension with the Bengals. This is probably where Joe Burrow's going to first hit him losing his guy from Dynamic Duo. Is this a L for the Bengals, champ, if they don't get Higgins back?
Yeah, because you don't have anybody to take that heat off of Chase at a certain point. So, I mean, I know Tyler Boyd is good, but he's no T. Higgins. But T. Higgins, I will say this. Let me make sure PSP real quick. T. Higgins, you want some money? Atlanta got it for you. And we got Magic City.
Here you go. I do something to it.
So if you want some money, you want to eat them living pepper wings and that catfish, come on down. We got that for you. But I think this is a real big loss for T. Higgins for Cincinnati at this point, and that just goes to show you how teams are affected once these quarterbacks get these huge $300 million contracts, because now you're starting to lose talent. Now you're about to have to start making chicken salad out of what. This is a family show, but you got to start trying to make chicken salad out of what. And now you can't miss on any type of draft picks now that contract is kicking in. So, these are just the cap casualties that come along with quarterbacks getting these super contracts at this point. We saw it with Peyton Manning, how Edgar James became a cap casualty when they want to keep Reggie Wayne. So, cap casualties are going to happen. And you've already lost Joe Mixon.
Which he going to miss Joe Mixon.
Up at this point. So you better be careful for these future quarterbacks, you better be careful about taking that huge big money contract if you want to win. I understand everybody want to be riding around in Rolls Royces and, everybody want that Ferrari in their driveway. You want that big, huge mansion. But guess what? It ain't worth it when you're crippled and you ain't got no championships. So, hey, because if you
we see it at 4K too, because The 49ers going to lose IU because they know they're getting prepared to play Brock Purdy, which I don't think they should, but they're going to get prepared to play Brock Purdy.
Exactly. And you got to think about this. A lot of these quarterbacks, now I'm not talking about Joe Burrow when I say this. A lot of these quarterbacks are getting paid off of potential. We just saw Daniel Jones get paid off of potential.
Agreed.
We just saw Trevor Lawrence get paid after that huge collapse that they just had. Won one game down the stretch, and he got almost a $300 million contract. This is what happens when you take those big money contracts. This is why the greatest of all time always took them low ball contracts so he can keep winning. This is why one of the all-time greats that's still playing in Patrick Mahomes, he's restructuring his contract every other year in order to keep an influx of talent coming in. So I would caution either. I know, like I said, I know that people are going to say, well, Tom Brady, he had a supermodel. I understand all of that. But you got to understand, he was winning Super Bowls, and he took a $48 million contract even before he met Giselle. So let's not get it twisted. He was making pay cuts before he even met Giselle. He didn't meet Giselle until 2005. He had signed a contract his second year, which was, I think, 4 years, $48 million. So he did that before he even met Giselle. And back then, the average quarterback was making $20 million a year. He went down and he only made like $10 million a year. So, hey, think about that before you start taking these huge, big money contracts because, the cap is going to go up every year, but is it worth it to lose a huge piece like a T. Higgins?
You got nobody to throw the ball to. What about you,
got nobody to throw the ball to. Now you hoping and begging these little rookies that you're drafting out of college are going to be able to get the job done. So, hey, nope. And you get, like Mystical said, watch yourself.
Hey, go ahead.
Well, I would say this, SB. Well, so they're going to have T. Higgins this year, obviously, because he's on the franchise tag. He'll play this year, play this season out. Tyler Boyd's gone. He's in Tennessee. He's gone. They let him go.
Oh, they did lose Boyd. Yep, they did.
So it's really him and obviously Jamar, who more than likely is in the middle of a contract extension talks as well, just because, again, now that Justin Jefferson's gotten paid and, some other guys are set to get paid, Chase is up next. These are the financial decisions to Champ's point that, the teams will have to make, is you can spend all this money on a quarterback because, again, these are the guys that you market around. These are the faces of your franchise and of the league. But the flip side is that, you're going to be devoid in talent in other areas. Now, what teams hope is that you got a guy who can do it like Mahomes did it last season. They didn't have expensive receivers on their roster. Their most expensive receiver was MVS. He was only making $11 million a year. They were depending on Rashee Rice, who was a late round pick, wasn't making a lot of money, kind of stepped into that role of their best wide receiver, because obviously we know what Travis Kelce is. This is going to be, dependent on Cincinnati's ability to draft and develop. If this is the financial system with which the NFL continues to operate, which is we pay certain people, other guys got to go out in the market to get their money. It's not like the NBA where if we draft you, we develop you, we can spend, a certain amount of money to retain you. The NFL doesn't work in that same way.
Right.
So, they got to make the most of this year. Obviously, we know how tough the AFC North is. It's the toughest division in football, top to bottom, to be frank. The Bengals, got to maximize this season with T. Higgins because, again, highly unlikely he's back next year. So we'll see what happens, but, this is the nature of the business.
Yeah. Well, I have to catch my leg because I think I almost caught a Charlie horse, but I was trying to free. Shout out content in a TikTok live. He said too fantastic. He said let him cook. So shout out to you in the TikTok live. And if you watch TikTok live too, hit the like button and make sure y'all share. But we got the main thing I want to come in and do. We got the NFL season preview and preseason. Obviously, the Chiefs won. That was opening the mindset of can they three-peat, which is a highly chance possibility. What can it lead to? Can Lamar Jackson and the Ravens actually get over the hump? Is Caleb Williams going to actually live up to expectations? Is Saquon Barkley going to prove everybody wrong about the running back position? Can Justin Herbert or Justin Herbert's wide receivers actually catch the ball? It's a lot of different storylines that's coming into this NFL season. That's the point I'm making. Champ, for you, Andy and Sean next, what is the main storyline or what's your mindset coming into this NFL season? What you looking at?
Well, two of them really. Number one, considering all these off-season distractions that the Kansas City Chiefs have been plagued with.
Mm-hmm.
I mean plagued. When they said discouraged, they was not playing when they was talking about the Kansas City Chiefs. They said discouraged at them this offseason because you had everything go on from Rashee Rice and the driver's incident, not one but two incidents. You know, the incident at the club with the photographer. You had the offensive lineman with DUI. Then on top of that, you had the incidents with his father. It was so many distractions around that team. It was a shame. And it's going to be interesting to see what happens around that team. Yes. I mean, all of these distractions in the offseason, and let's see if you can turn off the noise like you did last year. And then not only that, how much of an asset will Xavier Worthy be? Him running the fastest combine 40 ever. How big of a factor he's going to be with Patrick Mahomes if and when Rashee Rice is not available.
So, and I hope they'll try to make Xavier Worthy like be Tyreek Hill. He's not Tyreek Hill, but he can make exact plays. But Kansas City Chiefs fan don't think he's Tyreek Hill.
No, indeed not. There's only one. But that's one of the storylines. Can they three-peat with all the distractions, especially, that division right now? I do stress right now. It's not that good, but the game still has to be played. Second storyline is it has to be what NFC team is going to reach the promised land, because it looks like it's a two-man race between the Philadelphia Eagles, the San Francisco 49ers, and the Detroit Lions. So what is that fourth NFC team that's going to enter that race? So, I mean, the Chiefs, can they win the distractions throughout the offseason that they've been plagued with? Yes. And who's that fourth team that's going to be in the NFC that's going to be up there with San Francisco, the Eagles, and the Lions? I think it's going to be my Atlanta Falcons because of that high-powered offense that I know we're going to have this year. But that remains to be seen how Kirk Cousins is going to do.
We knew you was gonna pick you. You know you was gonna throw Atlanta in that, champ. You knew you was gonna throw Atlanta though.
I believe you ready to drag, but I think it's gonna be them. But also look out. Well, I gotta throw this one in there too. My bad. Look out for Houston and how well Stephon Diggs is gonna do. This is your third team, Stephon. This is your third.
Yeah, it's over with. This
after this, because you got to ask yourself this question. You have to ask yourself this question. What's going to happen if we get to week 11 and the Texans are 10-1, but Stephon Diggs only has like 200 yards? Are you going to be happy that you're winning, or are you going to be whining and moaning because you're not getting your targets like you did in Buffalo?
That's a good question.
So that's one of the biggest storylines. And plus, Houston went for broke. This in the great words of Babyface, they went for broke.
But when you got stuff, you got to take advantage of it. And your quarterback on his rookie contract, you got to get the champion. You got to get the championship now. You can't wait till you pay CJ Stroud to try to go all out for a championship team. You gotta do it while he's on that rookie deal.
Yes, they went for broke this offseason. They went and signed Joe Mixon. They went and got Danielle Hunter in order to complement Will Anderson in the pass rush. I mean, they went and traded for Stephon Diggs and added him to already a stacked receiving core. That receiving core was already stacked before he got there. So that's why I'm saying it's going to be interesting to see, are you going to be happy winning, or are you going to be whining about touches and catches? Because this is your opportunity to win a Super Bowl. This is the best opportunity that you've had since the Buffalo Bills lost the AFC Championship to win a Super Bowl. This is the best opportunity, whether you're the main guy or not. So let's see how you gonna act. You gonna act right, or you gonna be a diva? Let's see.
What about you, Sean?
So I want to respond to Champ because I know you mentioned the Kansas City Chiefs offseason distractions and things like that. I think those things certainly do factor in, but the bigger issue for me is who plays left tackle because they don't have one right now. Donovan Smith, who was basically a one-year rental, is not under contract with them, and then obviously, we know what Jawan Taylor was last season at right tackle. So that's going to be the interior of their offensive line is set. With Trey Smith, with Creed Humphreys, they are legit. They might have the best interior offensive line in the NFL, but those two tackle positions, what are you going to do? My guess is they are probably going to be a team that's probably going to be a little more run heavy this season, but we'll see. So I think that's one thing. And then his NFC teams he mentioned, the team that I would be on the lookout for is Green Bay. I think they are going to be tooth and nail with the Lions to try to win that NFC North. I think both teams are making the playoffs in the NFC without question for me. Obviously health provided, but they are the teams that I'm watching in that division in terms of being legit Super Bowl contender. Because I agree with you. I think there are 4 in the NFC. I think those are 2 of the 4, along with Philly and with San Francisco. But another team I'm watching out for, and again, I always like to pick, a team in each conference that didn't make the playoffs last year. In the NFC, I'm watching Arizona. If you watched Arizona last year, they didn't have a lot of talent, but they were super, super competitive. And now they have kind of boosted their talent. We know obviously what they did in the draft. They get Kyler Murray back for a full season healthy.
They're gonna be good. I told you, Sean, they're gonna be good until October. Once Call of Duty drop, it's over with. They're gonna be good until Call of Duty drop.
Yeah,
so be prepared.
I hope for Kyler's sake that he doesn't do that, but we'll see. But yeah, Arizona is a team I'm watching out for. I don't know if they're a playoff team because again, I think they're 2 playoff teams in the NFC North, 2 in the NFC East. Obviously, I think Atlanta, right now would pick them to win the South, and then San Fran to win the NFC West. But Arizona, Rams, there are going to be some teams I think fighting for that 7th and final playoff spot in the NFC. And then in the AFC, everybody's talking about them. The Jets. What are y'all gonna do? Because you lost Aaron Rodgers last year after 4 snaps. You got him back. You went out. You made a lot of moves. You brought in Tyron Smith from the Cowboys to help your offensive line. We know
is he with the team right now though? Like he's still on vacation.
Tyron Smith or Aaron Rodgers.
Aaron Rodgers, is he actually with the team now? Is he still on vacation?
Aaron Rodgers is probably somewhere on hemp oil. You never know. It's he can be there and then not be there. It's like an existential, existence, with him. But whatever. But yeah, the Jets, because again, I think Buffalo, whether they will admit it or not, is probably gonna take a little bit of a step back.
Yes.
And the Dolphins, to me, still haven't really fixed their issues, which is you don't win football games with track. You win football games in the trenches. And that, it's a fun offense to watch. It's fancy as all get out. But come December, when it gets cold and you got to go on the road and you got to play in those cold weather cities, that track stuff goes out the window. So the Jets, for me, are the team that I'm watching in the AFC that didn't make the playoffs last year. What are they going to do?
Okay. For me, the biggest thing I'm looking at, obviously, with the number 1 pick, Caleb Williams, being here in Chicago is very exciting around the city. Will we actually see a good Chicago Bears quarterback? Let's see if that's very possible. Also, I want to see Justin Herbert become to an MVP level, but that's just me being selfish. And I know I'm not telling myself the truth, but I want to see how my Chargers do. But also, I'm looking at the Texas, like you brought up, Champ. I think the Texas is people not taking the Texas serious enough, and people need to start talking about the Texas more and look at that team because I can see them guys coming out the AFC, and I can see the Kansas City Chiefs losing to the Texans. For the NFC, for me, always watching the Cowboys choke. How's the downfall of the Cowboys gonna go? Oh, we back, we them boys, and then mid-season it's gonna be over with. But also, I was thinking about who is the most dangerous team. The most dangerous team in the AFC is the Houston Texans. NFC, I'm debating on it. What you guys think?
You know what? Depending on how this new offensive coordinator does in Philadelphia, it could very well be Philadelphia. It could very well be Philadelphia because they have a guy who is Saquon Barkley, who's not only a threat on the running game, but a threat in the passing game as well. So he's a dual threat type of guy who you can have a usage rate. And not only that, guess what? You have a good running quarterback in Jalen Hurts. So you can take a lot of pressure off him by giving him 300 carries this season. I mean, and making him earn that contract, that next contract that he's trying to get at this point in time. So I'm just going to be very, very honest. I'm going to take the Philadelphia Eagles at this point in time, simply because of the acquisitions that they made. Now they are going to miss. They're going to miss. They're going to darn well miss Jason Kelce because he was the anchor of that offensive line. That was the anchor of that offensive line, and you cannot replace in 1 year a Jason. I don't even think you can replace him in a lifetime.
No.
Just like the Rams are going to struggle on defense without the great Aaron Donald. But the most dangerous team this year, I will put the Philadelphia Eagles in that position. But I will say this, watch the 49ers, especially if they can retain Brandon Ayuk. And Ayuk, I'm going to campaign the same thing I did with T. Higgins. You don't like San Francisco.
Come to LA.
Come to Atlanta.
Come to LA. LA. Now listen to him.
We got Magic City, and we got some money for you down here.
What about you, Sean? Who the most dangerous team?
The most dangerous team in the AFC. I'm saying dangerous, not that I think this team is a legit contender, but I think this team is good enough to challenge some legit contenders. Watch out for Tennessee. If Will Levis can take that next step with what they've done this offseason, obviously adding Calvin Ridley to Hopkins, they brought in Tyler Boyd. Their defense, I think, was really solid last season. They got a brand new coach in Brian Callahan, the former offensive coordinator in Cincinnati. They can be really dangerous to those top tier teams, I think, in the AFC. So I'm gonna say dangerous for me is Tennessee. Just watch out for them. I think they're going to shock some. I think they really are going to shock some people. They Rand Carthen, their GM. He's made some really, really solid moves. But for me, Will Levis, you're on the clock. You got to show you can be that guy this season, because if not, they're going to be right back on the market next season looking for a guy that they think they can add to that veteran, that veteran room with those receivers. And Calvin Ridley and DeAndre Hopkins on the same team almost seems unfair. I think it just seems unfair, but that's just me. So Tennessee would be the dangerous team I'd watch out for in the AFC. In the NFC, I mean, is the Bears the correct answer? Because again, I think I don't know if they're a playoff team this year, but I think they're going to be competing for a playoff team as up to be a playoff team. But they're going to be one of those teams that they're going to knock some teams off that nobody's getting knocked off. So the dangerous teams for me are not necessarily contenders for the Super Bowl, but those teams that can knock those contenders, out or off.
Okay. Then I'm glad you brought the Bears with Caleb Williams, because when they also come to the NFL preseason, we always got to talk about the top 10 quarterback. We got to do the top 10 quarterback thing, because I think C.J. Stroud put himself in that conversation. But also, when you bring somebody else in, somebody's going to be out. So who is the quarterbacks for you guys that y'all looking at? And y'all people had them in the top 10. Who's going to go out to the top 10 and who might come in? If you had to pick one that's coming in and one who's leaving out. And I'll tell y'all mine's after. Champ, you first. You guess of the show. What you thinking? Who's coming into the top 10 and who's coming out? Or we staying the same?
Watch that guy from Green Bay, Jordan Love. He's coming in, and Dak is going out like 4 flat tires on a Saturday night in Georgia. Because the thing is, CeeDee Lamb might be on his way out of Dallas. They got to pick out of the big three this coming year. Either you're going to pick Dak and somebody else, or you're going to pick the other 2 guys. So I think Dak is pretty much on his way out of top 10 conversation. And if you really, really think about it, did he really deserve to be in those conversations in the first place? The only reason why he had such a good year this year is because the quarterback, the defense had essentially caught up to, at least for one good year, the defense had essentially caught up to the offense this year. They had caught all the way up. Defense had caught up with the offense. So they was able to scheme. The schemes have gotten to an all-time high, and a lot of the QB stats were so mid that it was easy to put him in those conversations that he, on a regular year, he probably wouldn't have been in. If this was like 2 years ago, he wouldn't have been in. If this was 1 year ago, he wouldn't have been in. But the QB play was so mid this year that, hey, people were going to say, well, he had an MVP caliber year. Yeah, because this year was mid. It was very, very mid. And what's so bad about that is that Cam Newton called it out in the first beginning of the season, but because he doesn't work for a major network, they wasn't going to give him his proper chunk and say, oh, yeah, he's right, because he doesn't work for a major network. I guarantee you, if someone from a major network has said exactly what he said, they would have gave him all the credit. So that's the thing. So I think Jordan Love is on his way into those conversations, and I think Dak Prescott is on his way out of those top 10 conversations, which he shouldn't have been in the first place.
Sean, what about you? Who coming in? Who coming out?
I mean, Jordan Love, obviously, when you look at the second half of his season last year, he was the best quarterback in the NFL. That's no slight to anybody else. His second half of his season last year, he was the best quarterback in the NFL. And I know people were, and again, that's the thing about this age we're in. It's like people want these immediate results. And they're like, no, I said, give him a minute. He's going to get it. Once he gets his footing as the starter, watch out for him. And he did that. And then obviously when you add Josh Jacobs to your team, the way they have, I think, he's that guy. But the other guy I'm going to throw in that, and I agree with you, I think Dak is coming out of the top 10, even though I still think he'll be top 12, whatever, which is about where I have him anyway. The other guy, much as I'm not a big fan of him, is Tua. What he does statistically, I know it may not necessarily translate in the playoff, but what he does in the regular season statistically, with Tyreek and with Jalen and with those weapons they have down there in the regular season when the weather is great, I think he is going to be pushing himself into that top 10 conversation. And the guy that's coming out, which again, I don't think this guy should have been in the top 10 conversation anyway, was Pat Stafford. He does not put together 2 great seasons in a row. He never has. He was really good last year. He was really bad the year before, and obviously he was hurt. So, Pat Stafford would be the one, and then, Tua, I think, will be in that top 10 conversation. But
yes. Let me ask a quick question real quick.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Do you think this is a do or die year for Tua?
Only because he hasn't gotten paid yet. And I still think there's a chance he gets paid before the season. But I think it's just because he hasn't gotten paid yet. But I still think they are really, really high on him. And I think last year he showed he can stay healthy, he can protect himself. Because, again, remember the year before, that was the big issue was, can he protect himself? Can he stay on the field? He's not the biggest guy, blah, blah, blah. He showed that last year that he could. So I think it's just, them just trying to figure out, where he'll be paid, and what his numbers will look like. But I still think he's their guy. They drafted him. They've obviously gone through it with him. They could do a lot worse, so I think he will. What about you? What do you think?
I think it's a do or die year for him because the thing is this. Number one, this is your first full healthy season. And God forbid you get another concussion this year. They might release you next year. So God forbid you get another concussion or another injury. You're pretty much expendable, especially when you're not going past that rookie contract. And be on the lookout if he does get hurt and they end up in the top 10 in the NFL draft this year. Because you got the big three coming out this year. You have Quentin Ewers, he's coming out this year. You got Carson Beck, and you got Daxon from Ole Miss coming out this year as well. And also, people are gonna talk about what they want to talk about, but also you got the wild card in that Shedeur Sanders coming out this year. So if Tua gets hurt this year and they end up in top 10 or even in the top 15 conversations in the NFL draft, start looking at those conversations to start changing because those guys can definitely be an X factor for a team. I wouldn't recommend Quentin Ewers because he's had trouble staying healthy at Texas at this point in time. But Carson Beck, Daxon, who's coming out of Ole Miss, who played in a very, very high-powered offense, and Shedeur Sanders, who is as dynamic as they come. Also, look out for William Rogers at the University of Washington as well, not to mention Dylan Gabriel. So those are the top 5 quarterbacks coming out next year.
Well, let me ask you because I just look at the makeup of that Dolphins team, and would they be better served to go and get a veteran guy as opposed to bringing in a young guy and really kind of resetting, their roster and their expectations? Because they think they should be in that AFC conversation. They're not at Baltimore, they're not Houston, they're not Kansas City.
Mm-hmm.
They probably view themselves as just right in that tier. So you think they'd be better served to go get the run guy or go get the veteran guy if Tua doesn't work out?
I'll take the Green Bay approach out of it, or I'll say the Atlanta Falcons approach out of it. If Kirk Cousins or Dak Prescott is to come available, go get them for 2 to 3 years and then bring in the guy still. Mm-hmm. Like I said, Carson Beck is coming out. Dylan Gabriel's coming out. Man, he got Bodie as his screen. He got Bodie from The Wire. My fault. That's nice. You have Carson Beck coming out, Quentin Ewers coming out, Shedeur Sanders, Daxon from Ole Miss coming out, and then you have Shedeur Sanders. So those are a lot of guys that's coming out. And guess what? If Tua goes out again this year, hey, get a veteran guy that's going to get you over the hump for the time being while you develop that young quarterback, especially if you end up in those top 10, top 15 conversations and you have a shot at the Shedeur Sanders, who's kind of raw. He's good, but he's raw at this point in time. But, yeah, especially if you get a guy like that, because guess what? Tua goes out again with another injury this year. He might can kiss the baby goodbye because it may be over.
No, it is definitely a high possibility with that. And I like this upcoming class. Was like a lot of good quarterbacks being available. Because even with Atlanta, everybody looked at Atlanta like it was crazy taking Michael Penix, but the talent that Michael Penix have, and also the reinsurance if Kirk Cousins don't work out, because we don't even know that Kirk Cousins is going to look normal. He's coming off injury. Yeah, he's coming off an injury. So it's like you got to always look at that situation like that. And I also think same thing with Tua. Tua with one more injury, he might kiss the baby goodbye. I think the same way with Kyler Murray. If he don't get off Call of Duty, he can kiss the baby goodbye too. Dak Prescott, when I was telling people about like who should get paid, I mean, everybody get your money, but I'm paying Dak last between Micah and CJ. CD got to get paid first.
I mean, we know what Kirk Cousins is. He's the Kardashian of NFL quarterbacks. You don't marry him. You take him to Vegas, you have a good time for the weekend, and then you move on. But you don't marry that. No.
OG, when you put it so nasty, OG, when you put it so nasty.
But that's the truth, though. So, and then shout out to fool. But for me though, I definitely think if CJ Stroud is in the top 10. So if CJ Stroud are already in the top 10, it gotta be Jordan Love for me. I think Jordan Love is gonna put himself in that top 10 conversation for sure. And Dak will be out for sure. I think Dak is like the easiest answer to say that because you don't necessarily know who you don't necessarily really know with like even with the Cowboys and the numbers. I don't expect to have a down year for everybody again. And so Dak numbers gonna look comparable to those top guys because you got the Herberts, you got Lamar, you got Joe Burrow who's gonna be back. Hopefully he's healthy. CJ Stroud. Yeah, I think if I'm looking at the 10, Dak is like the easiest answer. Him or Tua, maybe for me. That'd be the easiest out the easiest answers for the out for me.
Can I throw another wild card in there? And this is totally dependent on this guy is back to full health. Watch out for Deshaun Watson.
Huh?
Watch out for Deshaun Watson. If he's back healthy, and again, healthy. Because the key for him is obviously we're not going to relitigate all the stuff that happened, blah, blah, blah. But he wasn't healthy last year. And if he's back from the shoulder surgery, and I think they're going to find some symbiosis between what Kevin Stefanski wants to run offensively from what from what Deshaun Watson does well. Because again, Deshaun Watson is someone who largely, when he's great, he's usually in the shotgun. He's operating out of the shotgun. Stefanski, we know, generally wants quarterbacks under center. If they can find that, and again, this is all dependent on him being healthy, I think he can have a really, really good season, a bounce back season. I don't think he'll ever be what he was in Houston, but it's because again, the big issue for me is we know he has talent, it's health, and can they, merge and find again some symbiosis in that offense from what he does well and what Kevin Stefanski wants to do.
So obviously we all can agree that Patrick Mahomes is number one. We also think Brock Purdy is not a top 10 quarterback, right?
God, no.
Okay. If take Patrick Mahomes out the equation, I have one quick question for you. The best quarterback in the NFL is
Lamar Jackson.
Lamar Jackson. Yeah, he does a hell of a lot more with a hell of a lot less.
Yeah.
Because if you really think about it, people get onto him because he's a running quarterback, and I know there's still a stigmatism on stigmatism is with your eyes, but a stigma on running quarterbacks. But you have to think about it. When you look at a lot of running quarterbacks throughout NFL history, from Randall Cunningham to Michael Vick to Steve McNair to a lot of guys, they didn't have those weapons. They didn't have them. When you look at Steve McNair, if you look at all of those quarterbacks, their tight end was their best friend. When you look at Steve McNair, Frank Wycheck was his best receiver before they got Derrick Mason. And they didn't get Derrick Mason until he was late in his career, until Steve McNair was late in his career. When you look at Randall Cunningham, he had his tight end. I forget the name. I think it's Keith Jackson. When you look at it, Keith Jackson was his best friend. When you look at Michael Vick, Algie Crumpler was his best friend, because none of those other guys who was at the wide receiver position, like Peerless Price and Brian Fitterin, they didn't have the dynamic in order to get open, in order to get those breakaways. So when you think about it, and what's so impressive about this year, him winning the most valuable player in the NFL, is he didn't have his main weapon, which was Mark Andrews. J.K. Dobbins was out. He didn't have an 1,000-yard rusher. It was pretty much him delegating the ball and spreading the ball around to different players. And Isaiah Likely came into his own at the correct time of the second half of the season. So my thing is, people can say all they would like, no, he didn't win in the playoff. Guess what? He doesn't have the weapons that a lot of these quarterbacks have. And when you think about it, he's done a hell of a lot more with a lot less, and he's done a lot less. And with a lot less that he's done with, he's made it to an AFC championship. When you think about guys like Peyton Manning, he had a plethora of Hall of Famers and didn't win his first Super Bowl until he was 30 years old. That is not a warning. Exactly. You had two Pro Bowlers in the backfield, and Dominique Rhodes and Edgerrin James. You had Brandon Stokely, who was a Super Bowl champion. You have Reggie Wayne, who is a Hall of Famer. You have Marvin Harrison, who was a Hall of Famer. You had two tight ends in Dallas Clark and Marcus Pollard. They were both good in their own right. So you had all of that, and it took you into 2006 in order to win a championship. And hell, if you really want to be honest with you, if it wasn't for Bill Belichick making the wrong adjustments in that game, you might not have came back in that game, because remember, Brady had no weapons during that season at a point in time, because he had just got Deion Branch back the last 4 games of the season when he got released by the Seattle Seahawks. So you have to take that into consideration. When you look at guys who we look at as all-time greats, they didn't get their first Super Bowl until some of them was late in their career. If you really look at Dan Marino, he had more weapons than Lamar Jackson. But guess what? He didn't get the Super Bowl.
And Lamar can get it, and too. With I think the addition of Derrick Henry, and I think Mark Andrews being back, I think the Ravens can do it too. And their defense ain't going. I think it's going to get nothing but better. Even though they ran into Patrick Mahomes, but I still think the Ravens can. The Ravens always going to be dangerous. I don't care. As long as they got Lamar Jackson, they got 8 on the field. They always going to be dangerous.
Yeah, the question I have for them this year is, they lost Mike McDonald. Obviously, he's the head coach now in Seattle. He was the defensive coordinator. He was very good the last 2 seasons. Are we going to see how are they going to change things schematically, or are they going to basically keep the same system? So because every time a new voice or a different voice comes in, we know there's sometimes changes there. I think the big thing for them is they are the team to me that is built to win multiple ways now. And also now that they'll have a second year in that Todd Monken system, with Lamar's going to be more comfortable. Lamar had probably the most control over the offense last season that he's had since he's been there. I think it's only going to get better. But again, can they continue to get, complimentary football from their defense? And I think also too, they have the DPOY. My DPOY for this season, and Kyle Hamilton. I think he is going to win DPOY. He is spectacular.
I love Kyle. He's nice. Yeah. He's nice.
So, so they're the team to me, along with the Texans, that I think, again, we'll be talking about with the Chiefs right there in that AFC, championship conversation.
Yeah. Let us know who you guys got winning this season if you had to put an early prediction on it. Chad, before I get you, I know you always do heavy on football. I got like 2 more stories I'm going to get you in and out. We're going to make these ones quick. Los Angeles Clippers president of basketball operations, Lawrence Frank, was disappointed that Kawhi was out for Team USA. It was both a mutual decision between Team USA and the Clippers. But Lawrence Frank said it was kind of disappointing not to see Kawhi on Team USA. How do you feel about that?
Well, to be honest with you, this is no surprise. I mean, if you really, really think about it, throughout his entire tenure at the Clippers, and not just the Clippers, but in San Antonio, he's been known to be kind of flaky at a certain point. And if you really want me to be honest with you, why are you so I'm more disappointed at the fact that you guys hyped this team up more than any team in the league during free agency a couple of years ago. People was talking about them being the best 2-way players since Jordan and Pippen. We got another Jordan and Pippen. This was supposed to be the dynasty that put them over the top, that was supposed to overtake the Golden State Warriors, that was supposed to become the team of Los Angeles. And what have you gotten? Nothing. We all remember the whole commercial where he had the little crown on his keychain that was, was an indirect shot to LeBron, him being the new king of Los Angeles. We all know that. But guess what? You should be more disappointed that this team hasn't won a championship yet, because this was what a championship banner was, what was supposed to open New Forum Stadium for the Los Angeles Clippers, and they didn't.
Yep.
And so guess what? You should be, and not only that, you should be a lot more disappointed that you lost Paul George to the Philadelphia 76ers as well. So
I got Paul George was the wild with the contract though, talking about he wanted the no trade clause. Like you're not getting no trade.
You should be more disappointed that this team did not win a championship, and you did not live up to expectations, rather than you being disappointed about him being off the Olympic team. Hey, this team is stacked anyway. The team's stacked anyway. They're gonna win regardless. But
that's gonna be the next question. But
they're gonna win regardless. So the Avengers have assembled, and they're gonna win. So you should be more disappointed that you have not won a championship with this team. And quite frankly, you ain't got to sniff one. Matter of fact, you should be ashamed. Because the thing is, the Lakers were so bad at one point, we didn't even think they were going to win a championship. They won one before you did, and you had the better head start.
Yep. Snuck the one.
You had the better head start, not only with Kawhi and Paul George, but with Lob City as well. So who are you to talk about disappointment? You had the head start with the Lakers for over 10 years in Los Angeles, but you have not won a championship yet. Who's the bigger disappointment, you or Kawhi Leonard? I would beg to say you.
Mm-hmm. Sean?
Can I say he shouldn't have been there in the first place?
I mean, you can.
Okay, he shouldn't have been there in the first place.
You can't
load manage during the Olympics. So he shouldn't have been there in the first place. Right? Shouldn't have been there in the first place. So, it sounds nice, I guess, that he said disappointed, but it's not like Kawhi doesn't have a gold medal. At this point, it should be focused on getting ready for this new, challenge this season without, obviously Paul George, there anymore. Team USA ain't going nowhere. You've already had the experience. Move the freak on.
Get prepared for the season for me. That's what I was saying. Now, the real question, and we only got a prolong on this one. Can Team USA win gold? They're winning gold. Yes, no, what y'all think? If I'm wrong for even
they should. They should.
But
they should.
Like we say down south, what's supposed to happen and what's going to happen, two different things. But, they should. But, hey, before the Redeem team, we had some star-studded teams then, too. And they've been known to let us down. But let's hope that the Avengers assembled and they got their mind right in order to win, because those first 3 quarters when they played Canada,
I mean, it was a little sloppy, but
that was sloppy. That was sloppy than a Subway sandwich. So
I try not to read too much into it just because it's their first time playing against an actual team in real competition. And this, again, the advantage these international teams have over the U.S. teams is that these international teams are generally together every summer, where the USA team is not. This is obviously not the group that went to the FIFA tournament last year. So, right now it's just trying to figure out rotations, who does what, who's the better fit here. We saw today against Australia, they pretty much had their game in hand, but Australia did not, just give it to them, and they only won by 6. So these teams that have NBA players, whether they're stars or not, are not going to be intimidated by the U.S. You got to go out. You got to take care of business. And today they gave up 68 points in the paint. That's losing formula in Olympic basketball. So they got to get that shored up. Obviously, figuring out, do they continue to start Joel Embiid or do they start AD at the 5? So they got to weigh some different things. I think, they got 2 more tune-ups against Serbia and against South Sudan before you get to they get to group play next week. So we'll see. But can they? Yeah. Should they? Yeah. Will they? You gotta go out and win it. You gotta go out and win it. Ain't nothing given. You gotta earn it.
Ain't nothing given. Champ, one thing that while we was talking about, because the WNBA has been hot, I just want your real quick answer and thought on this. Your WNBA Rookie of the Year is.
It's a co Rookie of the Year this year.
Me and Sean said the same thing. I think they should get Cole.
Oh, my bad. I didn't mean to interrupt.
No. You good. Me and Sean said the same thing. No, I said we agree. We literally said the same thing.
It's a co Rookie of the Year this year, simply because of the history that both of these magnificent basketball players have been done. You have a player, and people are going to try to discredit Angel Reese because of her getting her own rebound, but people are not going to say that, oh yeah, she's being double teamed 90% of the time while she's in the paint. Just like people who try to discredit Caitlin Clark because of the turnovers, they're not going to sit there and tell the truth and say, hey, a lot of her teammates have butterfingers. That's the reason why a lot of those turnovers are happening. Well, because of her. You have a rookie that's ahead of Asia Wilson in rebounding. Let me say that again.
Mm-hmm.
Angel Reese is ahead of Asia Wilson in rebounding. And if you don't know who Asia Wilson is, you need to Google her real quick. Or all you have to do is look at the 2K cover because she's right there looking right at you, right next to Jason Tatum. So she's the most dominant player in the league, and a rookie in Angel Reese is ahead of her. A rookie. That's how talented Angel Reese is.
I think Angel Reese lead the league in rebounds right now, right?
Yeah, Angel Reese is leading the league in rebounders right now over Asia Wilson.
That's crazy.
And with Caitlin Clark, she's leading the league. She's leading the league in assists with 7.8.
Magic and Bird.
8 double-doubles as a guard, the most in league history for a rookie. First rookie to get a triple-double. If you look at Angel Reese and her rookie of the month that she had in June, she had 2 Asia Wilson type games where she scored over 20 points, and had over 16 rebounds. People are going to try to discredit either one because of certain issues. We don't have to wonder about how it would have been perceived with Bird and Magic because we see it right now. We see it in the WNBA. This is only just a taste of it.
It's just like a little bit. It's just a little bit.
I can just imagine what people were saying back when Bird and Magic was there.
My theory is this though, champ. If they really want to take advantage of besides the Aces because they finna 3P, I said get Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark super teams and let them compete. The best thing is playoff time and winning. I say stack the fever, stack the sky, get them in the playoffs. Do you know what the ratings and how much money they make if Angel Reese and Caitlin Clark play in the WNBA finals?
Exactly.
In the box office.
Caitlin
you can't rig the system like that, though.
One of them have to be traded somewhere else because they both in the same conference at this point in time.
I thought they changed it where it's just the first the top 8 teams, right? I thought they changed it. I thought they were
top 8. It's top 8.
It's top 8 now.
Oh, it's just top 8. Okay.
Yeah,
but I'm just gonna be real. Cole, rookies of the year, man. They both making history, man. They both are amazing, man. Let's enjoy it, man. This is the first time that all the players are just getting such great publicity. And if you really want to be honest with you, man, if it wasn't for a certain injury happening, we wouldn't even be talking about these two because Cameron Brink was lighting it up like a Christmas tree in December out there in Los Angeles. So she was the front runner before she got hurt. So, but right now, co-rookies of the year, they both making good history. They both have a chance to lead the league in the statistical category. Angel Reese in rebounds, Caitlin Clark in assist, and it's special, man. Let's enjoy it, man. Let's not discredit these players because you want to pick a side. Let's enjoy both of them because, hey, the Minnesota coach said it herself today. The reason for the viewership is because of those 2 particular players. She mentioned not only Caitlin Clark, but Angel Reese as well. And when Angel Reese said they're watching it because of her as well, she was not lying. So stop trying to put your own spin on narratives because guess what? We all saw this in the national championship the other year.
And it went viral.
And not only that, we saw and we wanted to see the rematch because of those 2 this year. So guess what? Those 2 and not to mention who sold out their jersey along with Caitlin Clark right after the WNBA draft. That's right, Angel Reese. Guess what? Those are the two young ladies that you want to see. Hell, both of them sold out in Atlanta when they both came because Angel Reese just came to Atlanta this past weekend. They sold out the game. They sold out. So, hey, rookies of the year. Plus, WNBA do a better job of advertising. They're playing together this coming weekend, and I ain't seen one advertisement against them versus the Olympic team. So, WNBA do better.
They got to do better. But another great episode, Real Takes Over Fake Debates. Champ, this used to be the part where I let the guests go, but I want you to be a part of this thing that me and Sean do because I know how great you are, a great football fan you are. Episode 89. So when we go by the episodes, we pick a player for that number. So for number 89, who you got? Who you giving a shout out to?
89?
You number 89, episode 89.
Steve Smith.
You stole
Steve Smith. Smitty.
You stole my answer. It better get in the Hall of Fame soon. What about you, Sean? 89, who you got?
I got the best overall tight end in football, Mark Andrews.
Mark Andrews. I like Mark Andrews. I was doing Steve Smith. Yeah, I love Steve Smith. I'm picking Steve Smith too. I'm a big Steve Smith. And what you got in the chat, guys, let us know. Champ, I appreciate you taking the time for coming on the show. We're going to shut it down. Also, I had to get up. Y'all see me? I'm here drinking water because I told you I caught a Charlie horse mid-show. That's why I had got up. Charlie horse, I'm holding my leg as we speak. So I'm going to go ahead. We're going to shut it down. I appreciate y'all for watching. Thank you for watching Real Takes on Fake Debates. Go ahead, Sean.
Champ, appreciate you coming on, man. You know you got to come back on, man, before this season kicks off, man, so we can really do some deep dives in some of these teams and make some predictions. So got to get you back on sooner than later, man.
Hey, it's a privilege, a pleasure, and an honor to be on the show, man. Thank you for inviting me back, man. Hey, man, look, SB, man, you one of my day ones on TikTok, man. Like I said, you brought up the black and white videos. And like I said, you the one that got me away from doing the black and white videos. So,
no, it was class. You got to go back to do it. You got to still do it. You still got to do it. Go subscribe to Champ's YouTube. Champ, I know everybody used to see them on TikTok. He got over 10K on TikTok, but he do it on YouTube now. So go subscribe to Champ's YouTube. Subscribe. Was it Undisputed Champ, right?
Undisputed Goat.
Undisputed Goat. Go subscribe to my brother. Appreciate you again for coming on. I'm over here in pain. My leg is killing me. So we're gonna shut it down. Appreciate you guys. We are out of here.